Okay. We have received a reference from your former employer, Prism Media Group. The reference states that while you showed general competence in the abilities required for your role, there were occasions when certain tasks you were assigned had to be completed by your work colleagues. Your former employer stated that just prior to you handing in your notice, that they had scheduled a performance review to address these situations with you. While you were successful in your application for the advertised role in our company, the receipt of this reference has brought into question your suitability for this role. So this meeting is to determine whether your employment will continue with our company. Wonderful. What was your role at Prism Media Group?
I was a cameraman. I was trying my best to just help out where I was needed.
Okay. Can you talk us through your expertise and experiences you've had in this role?
Well, I've done some small projects with them as a small media company. You can check online. I do upload everything I do as a portfolio, just so any employers can check my work. I've worked on stuff like a small project called Solstice. I've worked on a small horror project. I've done a bunch of things like that, which you can check online, which the company should have provided the media details.
Okay. Can you give examples of where you have coordinated or managed a project as part of a team?
On one of the projects that I worked there, Solstice, for example, I was needed to organise all of the camera equipment because we were short-staffed. So, because I was the only real one there who could be on the crew.
Real one? They're like robots?
No, I mean like the only like... Sorry, I apologise, I've messed up my phrasing here. I'm just slightly stressed about the idea that I might lose my job.
Okay,
so
calm down.
It's just trying to... I might be slightly...
Just take a deep breath, take a deep breath.
When working on Solstice, I was effectively the only crew member. While I could get some help from the cast, I was the primary person behind the camera. So I've had to help direct all the camera movement and also the cast where it was needed.
What motivates you?
A passion for filmmaking. I do this because it's been a long time dream of mine. I want to be working here.
What are your greatest strengths?
I would say my punctuality and what's the right word for this? My determination to stick with a project. If I've been set with a task, I will do all that I can, within reason obviously, to do it.
What about weaknesses?
Weaknesses. I'm not always the best at retaining information when it's all piled onto me, which is very inefficient of me, unfortunately. Other weaknesses, I do procrastinate quite a lot. While I will often get a project done, it is often quite last minute. So that is a big improvement spot for me.
How would you demonstrate your abilities to engage a new client?
Like I said before, I've got that online portfolio of all my work put up. I would show a new client all of my work, everything I've sort of done and worked on, all the editing things I've practiced with and all the camera shots and things. And I would show that off to them to sort of, well, hopefully make them see how good my skills are as a filmmaker and get them on board with the project.
What relevant digital software programs have you worked with?
I've worked with Premiere Pro, and on smaller projects that don't require such a high level of what's the right word, professionalism, I've used CapCut.
What's your knowledge with these programs?
With Premiere Pro, I'm not an expert, but my skill level is about, I know some of the shortcuts for the key commands. I know how to get all the effects, I know how to use all the windows. So I am quite knowledgeable in that. And with CapCut, I would say the same. I'm not an expert, but I can use it effectively and efficiently.
Good to know. Talk us through your camera skills and any other relevant technical skills, such as multi-camera setup.
For my camera skills, I try to implement as many, obvious skills that I can, leading lines, frame inside a frame, rule of thirds, but I also try to add a little bit more, what's the word, depth to it by trying to integrate the camera into the environment, shoot through a window, for example, to try and make it feel like the camera's in the world watching the people rather than just some omniscient force just sort of moving around.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever worked on a project where things have gone wrong?
Yes, I have.
How did you overcome this?
Well, when things go wrong, what I try to do, right, I am susceptible to panic in, situations like this, but when I take a moment, I can step back, analyse the situation, take a breath, and point out where things need to be, sort of try to reorganise where it's needed to hopefully get everything back on track and where it needs to be.
Okay. How do you review your work or yourself to maintain the highest possible standard?
I compare myself to some of the best films and TV shows that I've seen, which is slightly unfair to myself, who is obviously not that high quality.
Yeah.
But setting the bar high for myself means I'm always trying to strive for better and better results with some of the best things I think exist in media for camera work and editing.
How do you prioritise multiple deadlines and organise your workload?
With weaknesses before, I should have also added organisation in there. Unfortunately, I forgot to mention that. With organisation, I do sometimes struggle, but when I do, like I said before, when I sort of take a moment to sort of sit back and breathe, I can analyse what do I need to do now, what can be sort of put off to certain dates, what can be put here, there, and then... Sorry, the camera crew's distracting me slightly.
Sorry, just ignore.
Battery flashing red.
Yeah, my battery's just also flashing.
Speed!
Right, okay. So, when I take a moment, I can analyse and organise whichever situation that needs it. When I have multiple deadlines, while it can be quite tight squeezed to get everything fit in, I will try and get the dates correct.
Have you ever been let down by someone that you trusted?
Yes, but it's never, in my experience, their fault. It's oftentimes just some sort of mistake or miscommunication, which is honestly partly my fault as well.
Yeah.
So, while it is frustrating to have that happen, it is understandable, and there's never, not a workaround to it.
Tell me about an incident when you were totally honest, despite a potential risk or downside of yourself in the situation.
Well, one time, when I was working on a project, one of my co-workers had done most of the work, admittedly, and I was just there to support. When my name was in the credits, I was getting most of the, rewards and all of the, praise for it. But they had done most of the work, so in my honesty and transparency, I did admit, yes, they've done the work, and while obviously that has, taken away from my success, it's truthful.
So, what would you do if you were ever given credit for something a co-worker actually did?
Well, as I've said, I would redirect the attention to who really deserves it. It is frustrating that, well, not frustrating, what's the correct word here? It's unfortunate that I can't just get all of this, praise and, what's the word for it? Yes, you know.
Yeah.
I can't just get that for free off someone else, but I have to be honest if I'm going to keep my work legitimate and truthful.
Okay, how would you react if you were expected to work with someone you didn't like?
Well, there's unfortunately a lot of people who I don't like, but when working with people who I don't like, it is work. It's not, personal time to sort of be mean to them or to do anything. All I would do is be straight with them, keep it professional.
What would you say about the people who didn't like you? What would the people who didn't like you say about you, even? That's a bad question.
I think sometimes I do struggle with eye contact, and sometimes I could be either too energetic or not energetic enough. And sometimes I do rush into saying a response rather than listening and creating a proper response to what they're saying. So I'll just, quick fire a sentence out that doesn't really mean much.
Why did colleagues in your previous employment have to complete tasks which you'd been assigned?
Well, I'm sure like every worker in the world, and there will be people here as well, I'm not perfect. I do struggle with deadlines sometimes. I do forget things. I've said before, procrastination is an issue. I do as much as I can, but there's sometimes are just shortcomings. Sometimes, you know, something gets in the way, or I've forgotten about something, and while it is a shame, I do try my best. And whenever people have picked up my projects, it's not just out of they weren't done. I have requested that they've done that, and it is out of a favour where what am I looking for? They are doing what I request them because they know I can't do it.
Thank you. That's the end of the interview. We'll let you know by the end of the day.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.